Hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is Callum Bird. Callum is a UK-based recruiter, coming back from my homeland. He's based in Coventry, which is actually where I first started my recruitment career many years ago now. So going to be catching up with Callum. He works in the engineering field. Young guy, but he's doing some good stuff from what I understand. And I'm going to be catching up, talking all things recruitment, a little bit what he's sort of done so far, lessons learned in his career, and all that sort of good stuff. And seeing what sort of wisdom he can bring to the table. So I'm looking forward to having a chat with him. So Callum, with that introduction, mate, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good. It's again pleasure to obviously have me here, and it'll be good to have a good chat.
Yeah, mate, I'm buzzing to have you on. Let's start in the present, actually, because I know you recently made a move. You joined the new business. I appreciate it's quite early days, but so far, how's it all going in the new position?
Yeah, it's brilliant, to be honest. I mean, it was a tough decision, but purely one that I made mainly on one reason only. Obviously, being working in Coventry yourself, you probably may be familiar with the route into Birmingham. It's not a nice route. It can be quite long. It was adding an extra probably 2 hours onto my day. And purely just on that reason alone is why I moved. But yeah, in the new role, it's going really well. They're a pretty big name, especially with the engineering kind of sector.
Yeah.
They work with the likes of Jaguar Land Rover and Ford. So it's going well. Early days, but going well.
Yeah. So you were commuting into Birmingham in the old role.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And now you're back local in working in Cov.
Yeah, just in Warwick. Don't know if you remember.
Yeah. Nice. So day to day, what's sort of the breakdown of the role at the moment? What have they sort of had you doing initially in the new position?
So yeah, at the minute, I mean, first week is always kind of getting just your system set up and all the boring admin. To be honest, just systems and softwares and then logging into everything and all of that. But the last week or so, it's been just kind of learning the companies they work with a bit more. Working a few positions, and then getting everything set in place to start doing BD and really start attacking it from the front.
Yeah. So what are they what's the remit for you? Is it going to be like a 360 role? You're going to be going out, finding new clients by the sound of things, and are they giving you anything? Is it a bit of a sort of hybrid type role?
Yeah. So it's a 360 position. Start off with I'm working with my manager and resourcing, recruiting people for his positions.
Yeah.
But over the next week or two, it will be a big attack on BD. And they're quite big on doing client visits. They're very big on face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
Which I like. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into that.
Local, sort of, is it around the Cov area? Is it Midlands? What's the sort of the remit there?
Particularly Midlands, mainly because they have 3 offices in the Midlands. So here in Warwick, Stourbridge and Telford, which are all probably within an hour commute of each other.
Yeah. And the type of roles you're looking at, is it still engineering, that sort of field? Yeah,
all engineering, quite higher level positions. Some contracting, to be honest, as well, which is different to what I'm supposed used to. But it's nice because it's just rolling revenue. Yeah.
And that's obviously that. I think that's your background, right? Recruiting engineers.
It is, yeah. My apprenticeship, when I first started, I'll be honest, I've said this to many people. When the first day I went into it, I thought I was joining the job centre. That's the truth. I was 18, fresh out of sixth form. And then I realised pretty quickly, it's actually quite it's good industry to be in, and also it's quite nice to actually, speak to different people every day.
Yeah. And for someone who maybe doesn't know, like myself, the current state of the job market in the UK, in particular engineering, how do you? I know not always the easiest question, but how do you sort of sum it up in terms of how buoyant it is? Where is it sort of? Is it candidate driven, more company driven? What's the sort of state of play?
I'd say it's a little bit stagnant. Probably has been since COVID. It's gradually
Yeah,
got better. Don't get me wrong. It's picking up, but it's still not as where as it was.
yeah,
I'd say particularly when I just started out, it was quite a lucrative market to be in. Whereas now, I think the problem we've got now is companies were quite desperate just after the COVID, and therefore offering higher salaries and
yeah,
etc. Now companies are letting these people go, but candidates are still probably raising their expectations a little bit.
yeah.
Whereas companies are now not looking to pay probably as much as they once was.
Yeah. Was there a bit of there was I'm more in the sales field, but after when that sort of immediate after the pandemic period where companies really did throw some crazy salaries around, people did make some move for some big money. Then they sort of had to deliver, right? They were getting paid, high salaries, so it was like right, and a lot of people didn't necessarily deliver, so they were let go. Was there a bit of that in the engineering field as well?
Yeah, certainly, definitely so. I think probably towards the higher level positions,
Mm.
you're talking perhaps your engineering managers, your project managers, your production managers. I think the problem you had there was they were getting let go from companies, unfortunately due to the situation, but therefore still seeking perhaps crazy money that maybe wasn't as realistic as they probably thought.
So, what do you see maybe coming into this new role now? A few weeks in, what do you see the biggest sort of challenge that you're probably going to have to overcome?
I think the biggest challenge is probably perhaps going after business that I'm not used to. And what I mean by that is obviously it's always been engineering, but a lot of these, like I said earlier, can be contract roles that I'm not as much used to. It's normally just straight permanent. So the contract sector can be a bit different.
Yeah,
Obviously, instead of a salary, you're talking hourly pay and whatnot. And then candidates' expectations can be a bit more. Because it's a contract, they're not attached to it, and therefore they've probably got maybe 2, 3, 4 contract offers there. And 9 times out of 10, they'll take, if it's a contractor, they'll probably just
yeah,
take what's offering the highest.
yeah. So it's a new sort of game for you to learn completely. That whole
Yeah,
contract. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. But it's something I'm looking forward to do. I mean, still only young, so
yeah,
but
yeah, mate.
I'm not naive to think that I certainly know a lot or know everything.
Yeah. And what about the BD efforts? Finding you mentioned it's a little stagnant. How much of a challenge do you think it will be to sort of break into those new companies, break into those new clients, in the new role?
Um, yeah, I think it'll be difficult, but a challenge I'm probably looking forward to.
Yeah,
Just because I think I mean, BD's, as you're aware, BD at the best of times is difficult. Um,
yeah.
but I think if I just carry on what I'm doing, I'm sure, that there'll be results.
What's the sort of strategy for BD? Do you think you're gonna? I think a lot of, in my opinion, it's all about doing something a little bit different and trying to stand out from the crowd. Putting the reps in and often working a little bit harder than your competition. What's your plan there?
To be honest, targeting them just from different aspects. Um, I don't. My approach personally, and actually, this has probably come from seeing the likes of you on LinkedIn, etc. I think being personable, letting people actually kind of know who you are, rather than being Callum the recruiter and I'm constantly emailing, constantly cold calling, constantly texting. I think
Yeah,
it's a better approach to go in and kind of let them know me, be a bit more personable.
yeah,
Um, Especially in engineering, I just find that's a little bit more. You're dealing with a lot of. Obviously, it's predominantly probably a more male sector,
yeah.
and therefore I feel like you can kind of relate maybe a bit more in similarities, talk to people, rather than just go in and be like, oh yeah, by the way, hiring.
Sort of straight to business. Let's talk about recruitment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I completely relate to that. It's something mistake I made at early days of my career. I was sort of going in, let's talk business straight away, trying to be almost too serious. Just like, hey, it's Joe, let's talk about how many rather than, if you actually just relax a little bit when you talk to these people, remember they are just people and they are doing a day job, and half the time they might just want to have a chat about how the day is going or whatever. And trying to get to know, as you say, get to know them on a personal level, maybe just can give you an edge. I think in today's world. So, mate, love that approach. If we talked a little bit about the present now, what you're doing, this is an opportunity for you to sort of reflect a little bit on your whole recruitment career. It's been a few years now. How do you sum up the journey, the experience so far? How have you sort of found it as a career so far?
Yeah, fantastic. Certainly not something I probably even knew about. If you'd have asked me back at the age of 17 what recruitment was, I wouldn't even have liked to imagine what answer I'd have gave you. But I think I was always someone that was just chatty. I was always someone that wanted to just talk non-stop. And then luckily recruitment kind of, obviously people say you fall into it, and I certainly say I fell into it. I had 2 apprenticeship interviews, one to recruit engineers and one to be an engineer. And I took the recruitment one.
Yeah.
Purely just because they were the first one to make the offer. And then, I mean, ever since then, it's just been, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but it's been great. And I do feel fortunate to be kind of, in the position I am, mainly because, didn't go to university straight out of sixth form. And now I'm in my 5th year, and, I feel like I've certainly learned on the job. But I'd rather have done it, probably this way than perhaps gone into recruitment a little bit later.
Yeah. You mentioned you learned on the job there. How do you think you have developed, say, professionally in the last couple of years since you've been in the job? If you look back to the younger bloke who started out a few years ago, comparing it to now, what's the difference between those two people?
Yeah, great question. I think the fact I've probably matured. I think that comes with age. I think I might have been a bit, I suppose, eager. And that's not always a bad thing, but probably a bit too eager. In terms of maybe not being a bit more methodical and taking a bit more of a careful approach. Do you know how you just mentioned, at the start, you were kind of very much, right, let's talk business. I think I was very, very keen to prove myself quickly. And therefore it was like, right, who can I speak to? Are you going to work with us? No, right, move on to the next. I think I've become a lot more probably patient, but also a bit, I understand, probably who to go after a bit more, who to target, and, ultimately what's probably wasting my time and not wasting my time.
Yeah, like that. No, gotcha. So you mentioned, I think, a little while back about, you've always loved just having a chat with people. That's a lot of this job. You're always speaking to someone. What are some of the things you found that you enjoy about the job? What's the reason you sort of come in and keep doing it and have sort of stuck around for a few years now?
I think purely the fact of, as a job, it's obviously, we all know recruitment in the industry, if you work hard, it can be quite rewarding. But I think apart from that, I think it's a career that, it really, I truly believe it's, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. I really do think that, when you put it down to the bottom of it, I think recruitment's a numbers game. The more you do, the more you will get out of it. And I think that's rewarding. The people I work with, they're just the different characters that you speak to every day, perhaps work with, meet clients. I mean, it's a completely new network, it opens. I mean, like me and yourself right now, this would never have happened if we hadn't gotten to recruitment. And I think that excites me. The fact that I'm sat here speaking to someone who's done it in 2 different continents now is a bit crazy. So
Yeah, I often think about that a lot. One of the best things, maybe even the best things about my recruitment career is the people I've met along the way and worked with, and the memories and stuff. And you might not work with them anymore, but then you catch up with them sometimes, and you just have a laugh about the
Yeah.
shit that went down, and like that's actually honestly one of the best things. The people you come across um, along the way, on the journey is massive highlight. An opportunity for you here to give yourself a bit of a pat on the back. What do you think you've done well so far? What are some of your sort of skill sets that have allowed you to have a bit of success so far?
I think just being an easy person to get on with. Um, I mean, the facts. I think I can adapt to a lot of situations. And what I mean by
Yeah,
that is, of course, everyone has I suppose, the common similarities of sport or football or whatnot. But then, I think, I can find a similarity with most people, um, and therefore use that to get to know someone, perhaps,
yeah, okay.
and yeah, just go from there, really.
What about areas that you think you've still got a little way to develop, or areas that are maybe a bit of a weakness at this stage?
Um, Honest answer, I think all of them, and I think that's just not me not being naive to think I've maxed out a certain attribute. Um, I think there's things I do well better than others. If you used to ask me my weakness or what I think probably is less of, probably sometimes maybe attention to detail. And what I mean by that is perhaps being a little bit too probably the opposite to that, probably being too much attention to detail, probably being a bit too picky, on certain CVs or candidates and making sure they're perfect. Where sometimes actually, you might fire it in and they might go, you know what, there is certain traits we could
Yeah,
use. I think sometimes I try too much to perhaps find the perfect candidate.
yeah. And mate, if you think back to the sort of start of your recruitment career, and I think a lot of the time, the first sort of 6 months or so of someone when you enter the industry is make or break. A lot of people either make it and go on to have a good career like you're having, or they don't quite cut it for whatever reason. If you look back to yourself at that point, obviously, what were areas where you sort of struggled with, but ultimately got over the line? And if you could sort of go back in time a little bit and give that guy a bit of advice for those first 6 months, what would you say to that person?
Um, if I could go back and give advice to the me when I was 18 and started, I think I'd have just said enjoy it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself and just enjoy it.
Yeah,
Because, like I said, I think I was eager to prove myself. And don't get me wrong, I think I done very well. I think, I certainly took to recruitment, but I think I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I should have, and maybe putting a bit too
just
much
kind of
pressure on
soaking it
myself.
in a little bit. Just be like, 18, doing my first job here. Like, let's
Yeah,
just enjoy it. Yeah,
yeah. I think, as we know, obviously, sales in general is a target kind of performance, sector. Obviously, we all have numbers and we all have certain things we need to hit, we want to hit. But certainly when your first 6 months, your first 12 months, it's less so. And I think I'd have just said, just enjoy it and just try and like you just said, soak it all in.
you mentioned a few times, I think, about you doing an apprenticeship before the job, and I think I saw a post as well on LinkedIn about it. Obviously, it seems like you're a bit of an advocate for doing that. What were some of the positives do you feel of doing an apprenticeship, say, instead of going to university like you did?
Um, I think the first one probably the fact that I would have loved uni, but I would have probably have loved uni more for the social aspect. I don't think I'm going to hide that.
Mm.
Uh, Again, a personable person. I like to talk to people. I think I probably would have got easily distracted. Um, but second of all, just learning and earning on the job. Um, Obviously, apprenticeship salaries, aren't the biggest earners in the world,
Okay.
but at the time, it felt great, and everyone around me, friends, everything was at university, and it felt different. And I definitely did question it a few times. Have I made the right decision?
Yeah.
Should I have gone to university? But yeah, I think for me, and uni is a great thing, but I think for me it was the right decision.
Yeah. Mate, we've spoken about the past. We also talked about a little bit what you're doing at the moment. If we look towards the future, I know you're still a really young guy. You've got a bright future ahead. There's still loads for you to achieve. What are some of your, let's say, broader sort of career goals? Ambitions for the future. What is that sort of maybe even just the next few years? What do they look like?
Yeah, great question. I think just to get as good as I possibly can, and I trust that will lead me to wherever, whether it's promotions, whether it's to
Yeah,
whatnot. I'm a big believer in learning off. If I can learn a little bit off everyone, because every recruiter I do think does things differently.
sure.
And if I can learn a bit off everyone and try and build a recruiter with a little bit of everything or everyone that I've worked with, it should leave me in good stead.
Yeah, like that. On that point, people you've learnt from in the past. Any shout outs to? Because for me, mentors, that kind of topic is it's quite big, massive for me anyway. People in my past that I've learnt from. Any shout outs you want to give to anyone, or any particular mentors so far that you think I learned so much from that person?
Yeah,
Maybe in particular, what did you learn from them?
yeah. Where do I start? I could probably shout out everyone. But people in particular, I think first one would be a guy called Steve Convery. He was the one that gave me the choice for the apprenticeship. It was me and another lad on the final assessment day, and luckily he made the decision to go with me. And first of all, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here. And then I think he helped me a lot. He's got a lot of experience in recruitment, and he started me off with really good foundations. Of just picking recruitment up, learning what it is, doing it properly, and then after that, I think certainly John Ahern and Nick Goodwin. I know they work more in your field and sales in particular. Obviously, I joined the engineering division there.
Yep.
But them two, yeah, they're fantastic recruiters. Worked for some big companies, obviously BMS. And yeah, they're fantastic at what they do, and there's no surprise in that. And I certainly learned a lot of them. And in particular, what did I learn? Probably not just recruitment wise, but I think they helped me grow up and mature and learn that way. In recruitment wise, I would say, just being more efficient. I think that's probably one. More efficient with what I was doing. Even when you feel like perhaps you're sitting there and you've not got much to do, just keep doing something. Just do something, because if you can fill in the little gaps of where you perhaps are thinking about what to do, just keep doing something and something and something, and obviously the little things all add up.
It's about on that. I think just sometimes you just got to build momentum. Like you can sort of sometimes be stuck there, like I've kind of got nothing happening or no pipeline or nothing to chase or whatever, and you can kind of just get bogged down and not do anything. You can freeze a little bit in that moment. It feels like sometimes you're not actually doing anything, but if you can just get that ball moving again, it's honestly the biggest thing to try and get back on track.
Agreed.
Mate, love the shout outs there. One final question to you, and this is maybe like why you do it. Every recruiter has a sort of different why to why they get out of bed in the morning and do this. What is sort of success in your mind? Why do you do this role? What does success mean to you? And and that can be personal as well. It doesn't have to be professional. What is in your life? What does it mean to you?
Do you know what? I think this is probably a weird answer. Perhaps one. I think the easy one would be to say, personally, the easy one at 23 would be, I'd like to buy a house. I'd like to, go on more holidays, travel, etc. And obviously, there are things I certainly want to do. But I think the main one for me is to probably just to become as good as I can. I take a lot of pride in doing well and being good at something. I've got a kind of competitive nature anyway, and I think just to see how good I can become. I've hopefully got a long time left in recruitment, and I think almost just see how far I can get. See how much better I can go and how good I can become.
And then the other stuff might look after itself in a way. If you do that, you'll end up maybe with the more typical success, the house, the whatever.
Exactly.
The holidays. Yeah,
exactly.
Mate, I like that a lot. Callum Bird, thank you very much for joining me on the show. Really enjoyed that chat. Appreciate you sharing everything there. You're doing some really good stuff, I think, and even at young age, you've achieved a lot, and long may it continue. I see a bright future ahead in recruitment for you, mate. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for everyone on the podcast.
Great to chat, mate.
Well, thank you. Take care, mate.